Tonight on The Reno Show, it's the first instalment of my Reno recap since I completed my last renovation. Organisation guru Marissa is back to help you stay organised when you renovate your wardrobe, and I will transform a family home's entryway into a beautiful and practical space with Luxo living. Jen from Interiors Addict has some inspiration for styling your bed, and Rowan and I will break down how to create a perfect first impression for buyers at your property. Bespoke styling is the perfect way to complete your renovation, so join me for some styling secrets. There are so many different ways that you can style your bed, so Jen from Interiors Addict and I are here to have some fun together and show you some everyday and some luxury looks.
Well, here we are in this lovely hotel room in Peppers in Fortitude Valley in Brisbane with Australia's foremost renovator, Naomi Finlay, on the couch talking renovation and talking one of your renovations.
Absolutely, Ro.
A little cracker, I might add, as well.
Thank you. Yeah. It was a fun one.
It was. Well, I'll take your word for it. But let's talk about it. Let's break it down for everyone at home. Let's start.
Let's do it.
At the beginning, which is choosing a property to renovate. So how do you decide what's a good renovation gig? What's a good one to pick? How does it work? What market are we dealing with? How structured? Go, Naomi, go.
All right. Well, how long's a piece of string? So
halfway from the middle to the end.
Good point. So
double that. Sorry.
Why don't we look at what attracted me to this place?
Yes.
Yes, let's do that, because that could literally take months for us to talk through. So I knew already that this location was part of my patch, which means it's a geographical area that I know has properties that will sell at the right price point unrenovated, will sell at the right price point renovated, that have enough people wanting to buy them. I know the demographic really well there, so I've done like a year's research.
So this is research-based stuff
Research-based stuff that I've done.
Close to home?
Well, in this case, this one is. Yes. Your patch doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Your patch can be on the other side of the country.
Right.
It's totally okay. You can renovate remotely. It's totally okay, as you'll find out with this renovation. So for me, I knew this was already part of my patch. I was already a specialist about that. I knew what the market wanted. I knew what they needed. I knew what they were looking for. I knew who they were. I knew who the buyer of this property was. There's a couple of markets. And I knew all of that before I started looking in this area.
Okay. So if you've established that to begin with,
already.
You're not flicking through the real estate pages going, I wonder if that's good, and then doing your research.
Targeted and focused.
So your time frame is immediately shrunk because you know exactly what you want, where you want it.
Just like when you buy a car, right? So when you bought your black Mustang, so before you decided to buy your black Mustang, you didn't see any around. Once you decided to buy your black Mustang, you saw them everywhere.
I did too.
That's right. And so it's kind of like that with property. If you just go, I want to look for a renovator, you will feel like you are drowning in online search engines. Whereas if you know the area you want to look at, how many bedrooms you're looking at, who your market is, what your price point is, you're literally focusing down. And so your time per lead or time per conversion is decreased. You're not running around looking at like 50 properties. Like I looked at 30 before I offered on 10 before the last one I secured this one.
Excellent. Okay, so that's an interesting statistic as well. So we're talking, so a minimal number of properties. You've narrowed your market. You've figured out what it is that you want.
Yes.
And you know your price range that you're willing to pay. So immediately you've taken it from this massive pond of potential properties down to a finite number of about 30.
Absolutely.
And then from there you know what price range they're looking for because they've got market values on them. So you've immediately eliminated some of those.
Yep.
You're down to 10. You go, well, I can offer on these 10, but of the 10, which one's the best for me to flip?
Yep. And so the way it worked with this one, for example, because I did the numbers, because you know I love numbers, 50 leads came across my desk, 20 I discarded through my criteria of what I will and won't even look at, 30 I looked at, 20 I went, they're not for me, they don't meet my criteria now I've looked at them, 10 met my criteria, I offered on 10 that month, and the 10th one I secured, which is this property.
Okay, let's talk your criteria then, because criteria will change for people, I know. What's a couple of key things maybe that everyone should have as part of their criteria for choosing?
So once you've established where you want to renovate and what's your strategy and knowing the suburb, once you've got all your research sorted, that's to the side. That's before you start looking. When I start looking at a property though, my biggest thing that is an absolute game changer is, can I add value?
Okay.
If I can't add value to that property, then I'm out. I'm out.
Because you've immediately negated the purpose of flipping it in the first place.
If I can't add value to it, and if the market won't pay for the value that I'm able to add, then I'm out because there's no money in it.
Good.
Yeah?
So, and that's a key part of your research when you're doing your research to start with is what's the price point to buy? What's the potential sell point?
That's right. And what will the market pay for it?
Yep.
So I need to know how I can add value to it, how much it will cost me to add value to it, over what length of time it will take me to add value to it. And then am I adding value the market will want? What will they pay for it? And naturally, before I even buy a property, I need to know all those numbers stack up. I won't even buy a property if I don't know I can't make as much as I want on it. I walk away because there'll be another one. Because you've got to be in it. You've got to be in it to win it. I often say to my students, they go, Naomi, I haven't found a property. And I'm like, you've been looking for 2 weeks. 50 leads, 30 inspections, 10 offers, 1 property in this example.
Yep.
And so it's a bit like dating, Ro. I love a dating analogy.
I was thinking that exact same thing,
you don't
Naomi.
meet the man of your dreams or even someone that you want to date for 6 months, which is,
straight away.
You don't.
Yep.
You have to be in it to win it. You have to have a drink.
You have to have skin in the game.
Skin in the game and rubber on the road.
That's it, exactly. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, from the master herself, Naomi Finlay. Research. Do as much work on paper before you even start checking the market.
Oh my gosh, don't open up realestate.com.au or domain.com.au until you have started some research. House shopping with a loaded gun and no idea where you're going to be doing that machine gun is dangerous.
Okay, so there you go. So don't do all the fun stuff. Don't go shopping first. Let's figure out the research first. Get our ducks in a row. Load our guns. Then we can go hunting.
I like it. Now, you've often heard me say that size matters. Well, this is a bit of a different sort of situation. Some people approach their storage and their wardrobe renovations or replacements and think, well, it's only small, so it doesn't matter. But you know what? It really does. Imagine literally emptying the contents of your entire wardrobe and all of your family wardrobes. Imagine doing it all at once in your house and then trying to work around them and live around them to replace them and fit them out with amazing new wardrobes. Now, the immediate thought of that for me, Marissa Roberts, back from beautifulyorganised.com, is a feeling of nauseousness. The thought of emptying out all the stuff that's in my wardrobes, hidden down the back, old handbags, work boots, t-shirts, sporting gear for me, let alone my children and my husband. I'm out. I'm tapping out, I reckon. What can we do? How could we literally survive that for, at least a week or two without losing our marbles?
Well, you're right. We pack a lot of our lives into our wardrobes, including the things we don't always want people to see.
Yes, I was about to go pack it. We stuff it around the back, down the bottom. It might be, wow, that's the jumper I wore just after I had a baby that I don't really ever want anyone seeing. Or they were the clothes I wore 20 years ago that don't longer fit. You don't want anyone to see it.
That's really why a wardrobe renovation is the perfect time to take out and purge and declutter all of the stuff that you've been hanging on to for sentimental reasons or because it's too embarrassing to display in your home.
Right. So I think you're about to suggest that it's a perfect time to rid myself of those things.
Absolutely. This is the time, and not just you, the kids as well. Now is the time to really go through. You can declutter anything for your kids.
What, when you look at your 5-year-old and say the size 2 doesn't fit anymore?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So getting rid of the stuff.
Yep. Absolutely. Take it all out first. Get rid of the stuff you're not using on a regular basis.
Friends.
Donate, sell, give away, trash
Perfect.
it if it's not in good use.
Okay.
Anymore.
But then there's still a lot in there. I don't mind a sparkly shoe and I don't mind a glittery top. So there's still a lot in there, and most people's weeks can be really varied.
Yep.
It could be anything from going to yoga to, some people might need to be at a corporate meeting to going for a jog to just hanging with friends and having a barbie.
Yep.
And so how do we do that?
Lots of different options. Think in terms of seasons. So you want to take out anything, store away anything out of the season you're living in. A couple of layers are fine, but you don't need a heavy winter coat if you're doing your renovation in summer.
Perfect. So anything that isn't the current season, in a box, taped up and off-site or in a different space.
Somewhere where it's not going to get Reno dust all over it.
Good point, because that would just contribute to washing.
Yes.
Okay, what next then? So I've gotten rid of all my winter stuff.
Yep, next we need to talk about relocation. So the things that you will be using, you need to put them on movable storage or systems that you can move from room to room.
Okay. Like a movable trolley?
Yes.
Okay, and also maybe some of those hangers that have multiple shirt options on them.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
I like it. What about all the other stuff? So that's clothes, I get that. But what about all the other stuff that's in our wardrobes? If you open my family wardrobes, there'd be rugby boots, there'd be water polo caps, there'd probably be some mouth guards, some balls, there'd be random stuff. How do we manage to continue with all our day-to-day life stuff as well as have our wardrobes ripped out? What can we do?
Well, sports stuff is a really interesting one because you don't think about it until you're in the moment when you need it.
Yeah, and then usually you need it in a timely manner.
Yes, now this is where your car is going to be your best friend. You want to take all of the kids' sports uniforms, goods, products, whatever they're using for their sports or any other extracurricular activities. They're going to take up a semi-permanent residence in your car so you can go from place to place with everything you need in one spot, easy to find.
I like it. So literally I could package up my life Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in the boot of my car with all the requirements for each sporting event or each event outside the house inside it.
Yeah, even after you do the laundry, after the kids have worn their soccer uniforms, for example, you wash them, you dry them, straight back in the car.
I like that. That is streamlined. I reckon I could survive a wardrobe renovation and live in the house with 4 kids at the same time if I implemented that system. I like it a lot. Thanks so much, Marissa.
You're welcome.
There aren't many environments as harsh as our Aussie climate, I tell you. And our lovable Australian decks get smashed, especially when they're not undercover. And you'll see what happens, our twist shank nails pop out, we catch our skin on them, it means our boards twist, it then means that we can get splinters, get into people's feet, it is just a recipe for disaster. But there's no need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to take up these existing twist shank nails. We're then going to rejuvenate the boards and re-secure them to the existing joists underneath with some phenomenal decking screws. And you wait to see the rejuvenation and transformation.
Well, here we are. We've lifted up all of our decking boards so far. We've managed to do it very well without splitting any of them, which is key because we want to use them to put them back down. But just while we've got them up, I thought I'd just do a quick video to let you know that this is a really good opportunity to get in and have a look at all your subfloor framing and make sure that everything's still solid and joined together. There's no signs of rot. It's also a really good time because this deck is fully sealed from access. So it's a really good time to get in and have a look and make sure you've got no borers, you've got no insect activity, you've got no wood rot, any of those things. And if you do find that stuff, for instance, if you find some borer activity or some termite activity, then call the professionals in straight away and get that looked at. But if you've got a little bit of minor rot or something like that, now's the time to address that issue as well. Either chop it out or replace the member that's rotting. So this one looks pretty good. You can see the stains come through onto the joists from the staining process, but that's neither here nor there. That shouldn't have any effect on the structural integrity of the joist. They all look to be in really good condition. They're pretty clean. There's still plenty of space underneath for the air to get in and circulate. So yeah, all in all, even you can see looking at it, it's really dry. It's in really good nick. So we'll just tidy it up, broom it off, and then start putting the boards back down with the screws in them. So we'll see you soon. Okay, so here we are. We've got 3/4 of the deck down again now. Very important. Remember, for this example that we're referring to here, we pulled the boards up and stacked them, punched all the nails out of them, and then we're putting them back down with decking screws. So we had to number the boards, so we remembered which way they went back down. Okay, so just a little tip, if you can number the boards in any way that makes sense for you, so that when you put them back down, you know you're going to end up with the right boards in the right spot. Okay, just wanted to have a quick chat to you about drills and it's not the importance of, but the convenience of having two when you're doing a job like this. Because this one's set up with our countersink bit, which I don't know if you can see on the camera there, but it's a standard drill bit, but just here it's got a flared head. So when you put your countersunk screw in, this wedge bit here will sit down nice and flat inside the decking board because we've pre-drilled it with this. And it's got a little spacer on it so you can set the depth of that, because what we're going to do here once we've screwed the deck off again is go over it with a sander, and then we're going to retreat it so it'll come back looking brilliant. But so what we want to do is we want to keep these screw heads down so that when we go over it with the sander we don't hit the screw heads and tear the sander apart. Okay, so it just really helps if you've got two drills going at the same time, because you can do one for your pre-drilling and then you can follow straight behind with your impact driver or whatever other drill you've got and put your screw in, because these boards will move and then you'll misalign the holes and it's just so much faster. So if you can, just take the extra time and the little bit of extra money that it might be to buy. You can buy these 18 volt impact driver kits with a drill driver and impact driver really cheaply now, and even if you get 3 months out of it, the time you save doing that will be well worth the expense. So bear that in mind. And also, while you're here, I might just show you as an example how this countersink bit works. So you can see here I've pre-drilled this one with the countersink bit that we were talking about before, which is this one here. This one here hasn't been pre-drilled with the countersink bit. So I'll just give you an example of what this does. And then got the countersink in there, so that, stay with me, when we drive our screw in, it sits below the surface of the board. So when we hit that with the sander later on, we're not going to be tearing the sanding paper and we're not going to be sanding the top off our deck screws. Alright, so here we are. We have now lifted the deck. We've checked underneath it all, made sure it's all structurally sound, it's all good to go, plenty of movement from air underneath there, all the joists and stuff are in really good nick. We've taken all the nails out and we've now countersunk our decking screws into the deck, and already it's made, we've mopped it off because we've been stomping dirt all over it, but already it's made a massive difference to the way this deck looks. By screwing it down, we've taken some of the cupping out of the boards as well, just by screw fastening them down, and you won't be tripping your toes over any spiky, outy bits coming out of the screws now, because they are there for good. So next step now, we'll run a sander over this, give it a good sand and bring it back to bare timber, and then we'll hit it with a treatment. So stay tuned for that in another episode. Hi, welcome back. Thanks again for joining us in here on the couch. Naomi and myself talking all things renovation.
We are.
Naomi, you are the renovation queen, and you are the selling
it's a big
queen.
crown to wear.
I know, but you can carry it. You have got the runs on the board to actually fill that crown. So,
but I tell you what, you're right. What I love just as much as renovating
is selling.
And
so you would know the top little things that you need to do in order to increase the value of the sell on your house.
And help it sell quicker.
That's right.
Yeah. And look, you know what's so interesting is what you just said is the absolute essence is to get that over the line quicker and for more money. Often it's attention to the little things.
The detail.
So many people go, yeah, I know I need to declutter. Yeah, I know it needs to be clean. Yeah, I know I need to depersonalize. But not everyone pays specific attention and concentrated attention to the little things.
So what are the little things? Let's talk a little bit about street appeal. Where, because that's obviously the first thing you see.
It is the biggest thing.
And I've said it before, if you don't like the cover of the book, you're never going to read it.
And you can never ever recreate the first impression.
Of course.
Once that first impression is done, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
No matter what you do. So for me, street appeal is super important. It's all the small things. So it's from the minute they pull up, either at the front of the unit block or the front of the house, until they get to that front door. So it's really 0 to 60 or 0 to 120 seconds.
Yep.
And so little things like, do you have leaves or sediment in your gutter? Is your driveway clean? Do you have a house number? Can they see the house
That's
number?
Right, yeah.
Nothing more annoying than arriving at an open home pissed off because you drove up and down the street 5 times trying to find the house. Like, that's not the mindset.
No, already you've gone in with a negative opinion straight away.
Exactly. So all of these little things are about creating a mindset of a well cared for, well maintained home. Doesn't mean your home has to be completely renovated. You could be selling a property that you're wanting to sell to move into a one that you're going to renovate, and it mightn't be freshly renovated.
That's
but
right.
Either way, if you pay attention to little details, so numbers, driveways, mulched yard, mowed lawn, if your neighbours have like curbside collection out, take that stuff to the tip for them. Do not allow anyone to have that out in the street. Literally, go over and go, hey, I know you want to get rid of that. I'll do it for you. Is that okay?
Take your power back. Take
the power back to control that first impression. Even down to things like make sure that the gate doesn't squeak. Make sure it latches properly.
Or it opens even, rather than having to lift it up and swing it around. Things
or
like
boot
that. So boot it, whatever it is.
Yeah, totally. Make sure that there are no weeds, just the little weeds in the path. No cobwebs.
And we were talking a little bit before as well about trying to direct people to that front door, give them a way in.
Absolutely.
Like light up the runway for them.
Light up the runway and make sure that it looks hot at the same time.
Okay.
So
good.
Things like no grout missing from your tiles on your veranda, deck freshly oiled, live, healthy plants either side of your front door. And make sure even if someone goes to touch a door handle, they don't want to touch one they can feel corrosion on. They want to touch one that's not pitted,
clean, shiny
that's
one.
nice, and that it doesn't move in its socket.
And this stuff is all really, really easy stuff to fix. And it's
really
really
easy.
Inexpensive to make these little things just to really spruce up the people's first impression of your property when you get there.
Realistically, everything we've just mentioned, from 0 to 120 seconds, none of that needs a tradesman. There is no excuse to not pay attention to these small details.
That's right. And get help from your neighbours or get help from someone to just give me your first impressions.
Absolutely.
Come and have a look. And if you've got a neighbour like I have had neighbours, it's like my neighbour, he'd be like, oh, mate, the door jam's a bit.
And do you know who's often one of the best ones for that? Your mum.
Mum's good at that.
Mums are good at that, at being unbelievably objective.
Jeannie'd be a good one for that. My wife would be a great one for that. To be like, oh, all the things I've been telling you to do for the last 5 years, those are the things you need to fix.
Here's your list. It's what I did 5 years ago,
I just
honey.
took it off the fridge. It's been there for a while.
I like it.
Yeah.
So for me, those things, they're some of the most important things, because what that does is it sets the impression before someone's even entered the house that, you know what, someone cares about this house. Someone's paid attention to the detail. So no one's walking into the house going, oh, what else am I going to find?
Exactly.
You know, the gate didn't work, the front yard was a bit messy. Wow, they couldn't even pull that weed out. I wonder what else they've left to disrepair.
Yeah, that's right.
That whole narrative.
The doubt is in their mind already.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's all small stuff. And it's important to mention too that we're not just talking about houses that you've freshly renovated.
No.
This could be the family home that you've had for 20 years.
That's
but if
right.
you just take a little bit of time do a little bit of preparation,
Correct.
do a little bit of work, you can make a massive difference to that first impression, and the first impression counts.
It's one that you can never recreate. No matter how big or small, the entrance foyer or the entry to a home truly sets the tone for the experience you're going to have once you're inside. And more often than not, people don't know what to do with the space. So they literally pop a piece of art on the wall, maybe a hall table if you're lucky, and they run for the hills. But like any good design, it can be as pretty as you want, but without function, then it is absolutely pointless. So we're about to make over this entry foyer of this property. It's quite a big home, has a normal sized family in there. What's normal? 2.5 kids apparently. It actually has 3 children in this house. So we're going to make over this foyer with some functional and beautiful pieces to make sure that every single person that comes through the door feels welcomed and wowed. All right, so I've brought in a beautiful big marble table. It is a perfect fit for the alcove that's created here. It's very classic being marble, but it has some beautiful straight legs which are really quite contemporary, which suit the architecture and style of the actual building really well. I now want to create some interest at an eye level in this space. So I'm bringing in this gorgeous botanical in some really soft pastels. It's going to create a really natural, welcoming element as people come in. Now, when you're hanging your art, you always need to make sure that the middle of the art is at eye level. So some people say, well, what is eye level? Around an average eye level that you want to be hanging the middle of the art at is about 170 to 175 centimeters. All right, so we've popped in this runner to really give that elongated, welcoming feel when you come in, and this awesome bench to mean that this family has somewhere to sit when they're popping their shoes on for school or when they're coming home from a big day at work. Now, given this is for a family, I've made sure that there's plenty of texture and movement in this fabric so it won't show up any small little scuffs or stains. So this entry foyer came with a ready-made art nook, like many have over the past couple of decades. Rather than popping a different piece to our botanical in there though, which might have made the space feel just that little bit busy, I'm going for a perfect companion piece, laid landscape. Now that the large pieces are done, time for some essential finishing touches. Here comes the fun. Now, varying your heights when you're styling is important, all the way down to your plants. You can get these handy little plant stands pretty much anywhere nowadays, and they're a great way to get different heights at all levels of styling. There you have it, we are done. A family-friendly, functional entry foyer. I mean, even the runner on the floor is easy clean for those muddy football boots. Oh, we can't say the address.
Oh, we can't? Okay.
No, sorry.
All right, well, let's start again.
I don't want to say the address because I've got too many haters. I was just about to go.
Put your feet up. The haters. What's with the haters?
The haters. Okay, sorry, it's very unprofessional of me.
It is very. I can't work like this.
Next time on the Reno Show, Patricia is back to show you how to incorporate feng shui into your front yard. Jen and I will break down using pendant lighting in your home, and Rowan has a quick tip for patching walls and so much more.